the two in agreement, that 400-year period, that nobody could read the so-called Bible because they were putting it together.
Right, but that 400-year period is actually a period where apocryphal books was written,
which they, for the most part, disqualified from that. Like the Gnostic texts, they didn't want us to read the Gnostic texts.
Right. Well, not necessarily. They called the apocryphal books. The
Apocryphal books, and then later on, the Gnostic, anything
right.
that was written, gnosis, knowledge, we weren't supposed to have that. We were just supposed to believe.
Right. So they got several different groups of information that comes from this understanding of missing books of the Bible. First, source material. Because when you source material back, it's a book called Black Gods Who Wrote the Bible. No, Black Africans Who Wrote the Bible. Right? Because the Bible was written by Etruscan Moors for the purpose of military conquest, and it was compiled and rewritten, I should say, based off ancient texts in order to control the narrative. And the controlled narrative is what Rome has been doing the whole time.
True.
I used to always hear my father say, when you look for the troublemaker, all roads lead to Rome. I don't know what he's talking about. But when I followed it religiously, I ended up with the Nicene Council in 325 AD. When I followed it back politically, I ended up with something called Plato's Republic. When I followed it back socially, I ran into something called a Greco-Roman Empire. When I ran it back from a athletic perspective, I ended up with the Olympiad. So I always ended up in Rome. Mm-hmm. So when I started tracing the dirt doers back, they went straight to Rome. They went to the Nicene Council, 325 and 327. They went back to the ancient writer Origen, who was what they call a first century philosopher. They went back to St. Augustus, another first century writer of Christendom. How can they be first century writers of Christendom when Christendom don't come about into the 300s? So they lying to us automatically.
Then you had the council of, what's it called, Chalcedon of 451, where they put together the edict of what the Bible was going to be good for. You know what I mean?
Right. So this is when they was.
Yeah. Can I read that? Just a little paragraph sentence.
Yeah.
It says this council of the Roman Catholic Church, this wise and saving creed, the gift of divine grace, was sufficient for a perfect understanding and establishment of religion. So for its teaching about the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit is complete, and it sets out the Lord's becoming human to those who faithfully accept it. So agenda. They created religion, they created the characterization and the deity of God as a part of what they were doing, and it's in their writings.
Yeah, so it's never been a secret. I was going over the bloody oath of the papacy to murder the kings, princes, and people of the land with young elder, because they put this stuff in the public domain, but most of us don't know we really seriously is in a spiritual war. In spiritual warfare, you have to fight it spiritually, and the effects is going to trickle down to the physical. If you try to fight it physical first, that's like putting the cart in front of the horse.
Right.
Right? You going out the world ass backwards, as my father used to say. Right? So when you put everything in its proper place, don't give it a judgment, and then step back and look at the big picture. Right? So they wrote all of the dirt down that they was gonna do before they done it. That's to absolve them from karmic debt before they do the act. Because now, if you agree to follow through with what they said they were going to do, that was your free will being exercised. They just influenced it. That's why they say the devil don't never tell you what to do. He just suggests it to you. It's
Yeah.
just a strong suggestion by a power base that appears to be legitimate. And the appearance of legitimacy is predicated on the paperwork. Because if you don't have the degrees, you should not have the knowledge. Right? Which takes me to the next phase of my incarceration, where I thought I was doing all this studying in vain. So here we are 5, 6 years later from hearing this lady in the day room in Cook County telling me to get a PhD. And I'm getting headaches from reading so many books so fast, right? And the headaches is to the point where they're annoying to me that I don't want to read no more, right? I don't know nothing about the nutritional burning that the brain is doing. But we go to a Black History celebration, and sister brings in a African dance corps. She was out of Detroit, and she don't know what this lady said when I was in that day room. And she sat there and she said, "Some of y'all gonna get tired. Y'all gonna think y'all doing everything for nothing. Y'all gonna feel like it's a waste of time, and that you doing a whole lot of research and studying in vain because it's not getting you nowhere." She said, "But don't let that deter you. Get your PhD anyway."
So here it was like a divine relay system. One passed the baton to the next to come, and when you needed a recharge, when you were about to, your battery was running down, when your faith in what you were doing was running down, then the Most High, Big Mama, sent in reinforcement to
Right.
reinforce what you've been
So
told.
when I used to get
Let me see. See y'all, they messing with us. Let me see. Let me see if he comes back in, y'all. Okay, let me get him back. Are you there? Can you hear? Say something?
Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So can you repeat
So
that
I was
last
saying,
statement?
I was saying after the lady said that the second time, I went and talked to my mother on a visit. She had came up that following weekend. And I said, "Mama, the strangest thing happened to me." And I told her the story of the first lady. And I said, then last week this lady came in here, or earlier this week the lady came in and said that, and I told her the story of the second lady. And my mama said, "That's the Lord talking to you, baby. You need to listen." She said, "But you're going to hear it from somewhere else. Just pay attention." So I'm on the yard, and I'm talking to a brother who was a recovering addict and alcoholic. And didn't nobody used to sit and talk with him because he was a recovering addict and an alcoholic. Can you hear me, Dr. G?
Yes.
Okay. Because you froze on my end. That's why I had to ask you.
Oh, okay.
So we was sitting there talking, and he said, "Man, I be trying to tell these young guys around here, man, all this time they got on their hands, they want to play basketball, they want to chase boys, they want to get high in the joint. And they need to be in there getting some knowledge with these free books they got. And they got law books, they got history books, whatever you want to learn. Then they got an interlibrary loan where you can get any book you need to get. I don't know why they don't just go and get their PhD and stop playing."
Three, the third time.
Yeah, so that's called three master knots, right? The third one came in off of a male father line, who was consumed by vices, right? So it's a vice lord knock. So it's a big mama on the father line giving me a confirmation that the big mama message that came off the mother line that was confirmed by my mother was accurate. I didn't know that when it happened. I put that together years later
Mm-hmm.
because I'm always reflecting on my life and how to be a better person. I keep going over these lessons that I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the strangest stuff that happened to me is I would go check a book out in the library, and the book would be so old it don't have an ISBN number, just the title and the author. And I write the title and the author down, read the book, take the book back, go back because I might have wanted to review something else a month later, and the book not there. So then I go ask the librarian, and he said, "We never had that book, and here's not in our records." That used to, and it happened more than several times where I read a book that didn't exist. So then I started asking myself, where in the hell is these books coming from? That they don't exist no more, right? But now in modern, hindsight 2020, when the knowledge was consumed, it caused the Mandela effect, which switched the timeline. And on the other timeline, the same book doesn't exist. It can't be produced on a different timeline. So every
Wow.
time this is happening, I'm experiencing a subtle Mandela effect, never knowing what I experienced because we didn't have a name for it. It wasn't called the Mandela effect at that time.
Sure.
We were still studying the butterfly effect.
Yeah. Flap
And
the
the
butterfly
butterfly
flaps
effect,
his wings here, and then makes it something happen on the other side of the world because of the flutter of the wing. Yeah.
yep. So he flutters his wings in Los Angeles as the energy moves back east around the world. By the time it gets to Japan, it's a full-fledged typhoon. Chain reaction, microcosm, macrocosm effect, right? So in the microcosm, macrocosm, as above, so below, as within, so without. If you want to use universal law to affect change in the world, you apply them to the self as the microcosm, and the reaction takes place in the macrocosm of the external world. It just takes time, the bigger the event is, to manifest into the visual spectrum of the others in the 3D realm. Once you learn this, then you understand how doing real time numerology gematria and what we call it number flipping is actually, when you saying it out your mouth, triggering events to take place in the physical world based on what you've seen in real time and what you know from historical record and how you are looking at the problem in order to solve it. So when my mama used to always tell me, don't never let nobody take none of your brothers and sisters' stuff, I wasn't even the oldest child. Why would she keep telling me that?
Hmm.
She supposed to be telling my oldest brother and my oldest sister, don't let nobody take your brother and sister stuff. She not supposed to be telling that to number 7. I got 6 people that got to go through,
Yeah.
right? But I was born on the 10th. That's why I come in on 10, because my siblings exhausted 1 through 9 already. So why am I going to wait and come? No, I got to come in on 10. So I came in 11-10. That's 11, 2 pillars, 10 toes down on the upright. Sacred seal and 68, right? On an
Mhm.
11, on a 10-15 birth, which is a 7. To the 7th child, it's a knockback. On a perfect alignment of the stars to bring in an old soul that can solve the problems. Anybody can put my birth date in 11-10-68 and put in the time as 10-15 and look at the alignment of the stars
Is
and
that
know
AM or
that
PM?
AM in the morning.
Mhm.
But when they look at the stellar alignment, they're gonna know that that's not a normal reading for, because all of the astrologers that was teaching me astrology, how to read the ephemeris, how to look at a star map, how to triangulate the ground from the stars. I'm learning this from astrologers and astronomers. that's been
Mm-hmm.
doing it for years. And they keep telling me the same thing. Your alignment is,
You froze up again. Let me see.
can you hear me?
Yeah, well, now I hear you. You get froze for a moment, and so you said
Yep,
they
I
keep
heard
telling you
something
about
you
your
said, so
alignment.
I know where I stopped at. But
Okay.
these people had keep telling me that my alignment is not normal, right? The only thing that's missing from the calculation is the coordinates to Cook County Hospital by longitude and latitude. And then when I'm the only male child living from that batch of sons that was born. And then what my mama went through giving me birth, they tried to murder my mama in the hospital by giving her the wrong blood that was infected with hepatitis.
Oh, wow.
Right? So when my mother finally passed, it was post transplant, post liver transplant, right? And because now I can remember almost everything that went on when I was born in the delivery room. I can remember the conversations that the doctors was having on the other side of the room, but I can't tell that to regular people because it totally sounds fucking insane.
Well, we not regular people,
Because
so you
most
can
people,
tell. You can tell us.
but but most people don't don't remember being born, so they believe nobody can remember. I remember swimming and doing flips in my
Wait a
mama's
minute.
stomach
Wait a minute. For some reason you're breaking up. I think I think
before
I
two or
think
three
I
years old.
listen. I don't know what I don't know if it's my side or your side, but the sound is breaking up. I think you said you remember swimming, and then in your
Yeah, I remember swimming in my mama's womb doing flips off her stomach.
what?
I remember like being in utero in amniotic fluid doing backflips using my mother's inner uterus as a springboard.
I believe
And
it.
I remember hearing my mama telling my daddy, "This is gonna be a little badass boy here. He monkey flipping all up and down in my stomach." I can't tell nobody that. That's insanity to the regular people.
Well, for a lot of people, Brother Rod, though I used to say this even when I was still preaching that the there's a scripture that talks about before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you and I ordained you a prophet to the nations, and I think it was Jeremiah, and I always told that was just a prototype for everybody who was before they were formed, they were known and they had an assignment that they were supposed to fill. I said, but once you make that decision and say, look, okay, I'm ready, I'm gonna go down, that man, that woman come together, that spark, then I'm gonna inhabit that body that's formed from that. Then I said you float around for maybe 9 months, because I've had preemies, but 9 months in the amniotic fluid, which I would call amnesia juice. I said, and while you in the amnesia juice, you forget what your assignment is, and so your so-called life
That's how I
is
discovered how
one.
to erase our memory.
Right. So your life is one of trying to remember. He said, when you come into your kingdom, remember me, reconnect me to my purpose, to myself. And was it you who said that the lights they throw in your face are like the white that the men in black do?
Right. Now, this is
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And the civil priestesses would sync with the queen mother of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And they would come from each tribe,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all of the tribes would send one to go learn to be a civil priestess from the great priestess herself, the high priestess, the highest of priestesses,
Mm-hmm.
the great mother, queen of heaven and earth, right? So them being in sync with her, they become her ambassadors to the world because wherever they at, she there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say in the Bible, wherever you at, the Lord is there also.
Yeah. Where so what about when was the fall of matriarchy? You know what I mean? When was
That's
the fall of
when
matriarchy?
Alexander usurped Helen
Mm-hmm.
by gaining the Destiny Scroll,
Mm-hmm.
surrendering it to his father's line
Mm-hmm.
in order for them to rise up in Rome as a patriarchal empire
Mm-hmm.
that had homosexual philosophy as the base philosophy.
Yeah.
Roman philosophy is the greatest love is between a man and a boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly opposite of the earth doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
The earth doctrine is the greatest love between a man and a woman in which they produces a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? What we call the great trinity.
Mm-hmm.
Every time a child is born, that's another trinity. That's another three,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the child is a sum total parts of the mother and the father
Mm-hmm.
in character and in deed,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the Sibyls, wherever they went, it was like the Queen of Heaven and Earth was there. She know everything going on wherever they at.
Mm-hmm.
She can see through their eyes, they can see through hers.
All connected.
It's a connected hive link.
Mm-hmm. Now, I see a lot of things as well. That's